The void between stars was never truly silent. It thrummed with the echoes of distant suns and the fated din of civilizations long gone. Yet even among these whispers, the Aristea's distress scanner had detected something new, a faint rhythmic pulse that didn't match any known signature. Captain Mara Voss studied the readouts, her jaw set. Every timer, every spectral line pointed to one simple truth. Someone or something was calling for help. The unlikely planet Gyrex 9 rotated lazily beneath the ship's hull, a desert world of two suns and violent temperature swings. From orbit, its surface looked unremarkable. Endless dunes of rakish red sand, broken only by black crystalline outcrops jutting like petrified trees. Centuries ago, they guessed, a cataclysm had fused the planet's silica into glass, creating those obsidian shards. Since then, Gyrex 9 had been a dusty archive of its own volcanic fury. No human survey vessel had charted it as habitable. It had never made the charts of trade routes or war theaters. Until now, it housed a beacon pleading for faction-wide aid. Against her better judgment and the politics of the United Terran Federation, Mara had sworn to answer that beacon. Report, she said, breaking the silence that hung in the bridge like a shroud. Lieutenant Sanjay Rowe, helmsman and amateur poet, swiveled in his seat. The signal's strong, Captain. Origin roughly 50 kilometers southeast of. He paused as the console blinked red. Actually, the energy source is unstable. Interference from some kind of crystal field. Mara frowned. Show me. The central hollow flickered too. Life, displaying the planet's rocky surface peppered with crystals that pulsed in shifting prisms of violet and emerald. At their convergence was a deep fissure, its edges glowing hot orange. Somewhere down there was the SOS down on the sands 2 hours later. Mara led a 4-person away team through the shuttle's airlock. Each wore an EnviroSuit Mark V, its internal. Temperature controls struggling against the planet's brutal extremes. The moment the ramp descended, wind gusted down the launch tubes, carrying fine glass grit that scuffed their armor. Sandstorm advisory up to Category 4. Avi Patel, the ship's science officer, reported through comms. My instruments say we have under 2 hours before visibility drops below acceptable thresholds. Mara nodded. Keep it tight. We find that beacon, stow it, and get back. Understood? Understood. Avi checked a graph tracker. Signals coming from that fissure. It's emitting an electromagnetic pulse every 8.3 seconds, like a heartbeat. They moved as a compact unit, boots crunching on fragile glass. Sand, jagged crystal spires loomed at their flanks, refracting the twin suns' light into dazzling arrays. Mara half expected to see living rainbows crawling across the dunes. After 20 minutes, they reached the fissure's rim. Below, the chasm yawned, its walls lined with veins of luminous crystal. At the center, a structure half buried in sand gave away its origins. The remains of a once grand conduit array, its main antenna sheared off and glittering like a broken. Crown. Li Wei, the ship's Xenotech engineer, knelt to examine the array's gutted core. Her glove scanner swept over the crystalline fragments. This tech, it's organic and mineral at once. Nanofilaments encrusted in photonic crystals. I've never seen anything like it. Mara crouched beside her. Is it salvageable? Li Wei frowned. Maybe. But what worries me more is the energy signature. She held up her scanner. The core's unstable. Power levels are spiking. Someone rigged it as an emergency beacon, but they overloaded the containment matrix. If we don't stabilize it, the whole fissure could rupture. Mara's mind raced. A rupture of that scale could trigger a planetary quake, maybe even a chain reaction through the crystal network. Priority 1. Secure the survivors and evac, she ordered. Over her comm. Esra, bring the shuttle around to the extraction point. Ave, rig the biocontainment pods. Ezra Clark's voice crackled back with a trace of humor. Already? On it, Cap. This sand's so fine it'd jam a hoverbike wheel. Shuttles touching down 50 meters out. Mara rose and scanned the horizon. Dark storm clouds churned in from the northeast, sand-laden and merciless. Time was running out. First contact. They found the survivors huddled along a crystalline overhang. Gaunt forms draped in woven filaments that shimmered like spider silk. Their limbs were slender, their torsos studded with small crystal nodules that glowed faintly. Each face was masked by multifaceted eyes, reflecting the desert's harsh light. Mara raised her hands in the universal gesture of peace. We're here to help. Silence. Then, a low vibration emanated from the largest figure, an elder. Its vocal membrane flitted, producing a resonant hum that Li Wei's translator chip struggled to parse into words. Gratitude. Core failing. Need sanctuary. Mara nodded. We'll get you to safety. One by one, the Crystari, she decided to call them that, after their crystal-embedded biology climbed into the portable pods. As the final survivor settled in, a tremor rippled through the ground. Small crystals on the fissure's walls fractured, sending shards cascading into the chasm like deadly hail. Avi shouted over the quake. Containment field at 20% and dropping fast. Mara sprinted back to the conduit array, Li Wei at her side. The engineer was recalibrating her portable limiter, wires snaking around crystal clusters. Sparks danced as she fed energy back into the core. Stabilizer online, Li Wei cried. The ground shivered one final time, then stilled. The crystal veins dimmed to a steady glow. Let's move, Mara barked. They raced back to the shuttle as the sandstorm burst over the ridge. Blasting wind and glittering sand turned day into monochrome frenzy. Ezra's shuttle appeared like a ghost ship, its ramp lowering against the fury dot inside the shuttle. The survivors huddled silently. Their cluster of crystalline bodies hummed. In unison, a fragile chorus of hope and fear. Mara sat at the cockpit threshold, watching the storm rage outside. In that charged silence, she whispered to herself and to the galaxy beyond. We did no more than anyone should do. But as the engines roared to life and the shuttle pulled away from Gyrix 9, she sensed this was only the beginning of a deeper story, one that might redefine what it meant to be human in a universe brimming with life. The Aristea's hydroponic gardens hummed with life. Verdant ferns, humming vines, and delicate bioluminescent blooms. But in the biocontainment wing, the Crystari remained in solemn stasis. Captain Mara Voss stood before their domes, recalling the way their multifaceted eyes had flickered with equal parts anguish and mistrust. The moment for true first contact had arrived. A rift of fear. Dr. Teo Varin activated the universal translator, its needle-thin audio probes extending toward the nearest dome. The Crystari 6 adults and 2 juveniles stirred in unison as the translator seized their complex hums and clicks. Your weapons, your engines, your hunger for conquest. The voice that crackled through Teo's speaker was low and resonant, each word vibrating with ancient caution. We have scanned your ships. You carry death. Mara stepped forward, hands open. We were raised to survive harsh worlds. Ours was called Deathworld. But we did not come to conquer Gyrix 9. We came to save you. The Crystari leader tilted its crystalline crest, shards clicking like chimes. Save or subjugate. Save, Mara repeated. Let us prove it. Into the crystal labyrinth, their opportunity came sooner than expected. Li Wei's analysis of the planet's reactor stabilization revealed lingering microfractures deep beneath the surface, fissures so fine they threatened to reignite quakes. To seal them for good, the team would need to lay biocrystal stabilizers at the reactor node itself, buried within a subterranean cavern network. Mara offered the mission to the Christery. Join us. Show us your world. Let us work together. Fear flickered across the Elder's prismatic dome, but survival won out. We will go, it hummed. But we do not trust your steel weapons. Mara ordered her team to secure all ballistic arms. Only stun pistols and portable Vetri Surge wands, harmless to crystal life, remained. Ezra Clark nodded, storing her fusion lancer deep in the armory. Under a violet dawn, the joint team descended in 2 shuttles. The surface winds had calmed, leaving the glass dunes eerily silent. As the shuttles touched down near a crack in the sands, the Christery guides touched crystalline nodes that flared, revealing a hidden cavern entrance. Inside, walls pulsed with living light, veins of biocrystal throbbing like the beat of a colossal heart. The air smelled of ozone and earth. Each step left footprints that glowed briefly before fading. The ambush, suddenly, the passage ahead, shuddered. From fissures along the ceiling, fungal tendrils and chitinous spores descended in a thick gray mist. Strange sentients, half organic, half mineral, with serrated exoskeletons, lunged from niches where they had lain dormant for centuries. Panic gripped the Christery adults, but Mara's voice rang out. Hold your ground. Remember no lethal force. Ezra fired a stun bolt into a charging creature's carapace, sending electricity that caused its limbs to convulse harmlessly. Before it collapsed, Avi crushed a spore pod with the butt of her kit, triggering a strobing flash that blinded several attackers. Li Wei hurled a biocrystal charge that resonantly shattered the exoskeleton of another creature, immobilizing it. The Crystari least experts in combat froze, until a juvenile pushed past them to hurl a shimmering crystal shard into a creature's flank, stunning it. When the last creature lay unconscious, the chamber fell silent except for the hiss of cooling circuits. The Christery leader's dome quivered. You fight, but not to kill. Mara holstered her stun pistol. We fight to protect. From what we know and what we care about. Fusion of minds, they pressed deeper, following the reactor's hum. At its core chamber, a vast crystalline node hovered above a pit of molten ore. Geothermal vents hissed around them, threatening to destabilize at any moment. Li Wei set to work, her hands weaving conduits of human tech and Christery biotech. The Christery leader extended a tendril into the apparatus, infusing it with a living resonance. Sparks and pulses cascaded, and the node's unstable vibrations synchronized to a stable, gentle hum. As the chamber's glow cooled from furious orange to a soft teal, the Christery turned to Mara. Its voice was cautious hope. You are not what we feared. Mara nodded, heart pounding with relief. And you are more than we expected. Behind her, the juvenile Christery crouched by the energy vent, touching the cooled stones with wonder in its multifaceted gaze. Together, humans and Christery had faced the unknown, not as conquerors or pawns, but as allies. As they emerged from the cavern into the newborn light of Gyrix 9's second dawn, Mara realized that the real journey had only just begun. Under Gyrix 9's twin suns, the shattered dunes began to breathe new life. Biocrystal saplings, gifts from the Christery's own biotech, sprouted among the black glass shards, their iridescent fronds filtering sunlight into soft, prismatic haze. Captain Mara Voss stood on the observation deck of the Aristia, watching the first true oasis take root in a landscape once destined for annihilation. Below, human terraformers and Christery engineers worked side by side. Hover rakes leveled dunes while crystalline grafts infused the sand with moisture-retaining polymers. Avi Patel adjusted hydroponic nozzles to blend earth algae strains with Christery symbionts, creating a soil substrate that thrived in the desert. Extremes. For the first time in centuries, Gyrix 9 exhaled life instead of tremors, a gift of fusion in the central biolab. Li Wei, and the Christery elder whom Mara now thought of as Auric stood before a humming assembly. It combined human nanoprocessors with Christery photonic crystals to create adaptive terraforming drones. Each drone could sense soil composition, catalyze crystal growth, and emit bioharmonic pulses that encourage native spores to germinate. Auric's multifaceted gaze softened. Your people build machines that learn. We grow life that remembers. Together, they will restore worlds. Liwi smiled as the first drone unfolded its crystalline wings and hovered, its soft hum echoing promise across the dome. Bonds across the stars as word of the Christery Alliance reached the United Terran Federation. Incoming communication beamed through the Aristeas Cumerays. Ambassador Mark S. message carried cautious optimism. Would the Christery join the Federation Council? Mara replayed the plea to Auric. The galaxy fears what it does not know. Show them friendship. Under a canopy of living crystal arches, Mara and Auric stood before assembled crews of both species. The Christery leader's translator rendered its words into Terran common. We once saw Deathworlders as hunters. Now we see guardians. Let this partnership be our legacy. Thunderous claps came from human hands, and in a crystalline silence that followed, a new chapter of interstellar diplomacy was born. Horizons unbound on the eve of departure. Mara walked the glass dunes alone. The sands, once lifeless, now reflected constellations that seemed to wink in approval. She pressed her palm against a fragile sapling. Feeling its pulse of living light. Voice in her calm crackled. Shuttle's ready, Captain. She glanced back at the growing oasis. Tell them we'll return, she whispered to the planet itself, and we'll bring friends. As the Aristea lifted off, Jarix 9 receded beneath a halo of nascent green. In answering a distant SOS, humanity had shown far more than salvation. It had planted the seeds of unity in a cosmos, vast enough for every kind of life to flourish.